The Supreme Court hands Monsanto a victory over farmers on their GMO seed patents. They now have the ability to sue farmers whose fields may be inadvertently contaminated. Now, this means the High Court left intact a federal appeals court decision that had thrown out a lawsuit by the organic seed growers and over 80 other plaintiffs against Monsanto. It was just seeking to challenge the company's aggressive claims on their GMO patents, as well as just trying to get Monsanto from suing anyone whose field is inadvertently contaminated. Now, Monsanto has filed over 140 lawsuits against farmers for planting the seeds without permission, and they've also settled around 700 other cases without suing. Now, the appeals court based their decision on Monsanto's promise not to sue farmers whose crops contained trace amounts of the company's biotechnology products. So Monsanto can basically patent their seed for profit, and then they can sue you rather than allowing you to sue them for they contaminate your organic field and they're going to sue you. That's like if I'm spray painting my car in my driveway and some of my paint splatters on your house, and then I sue you for having my paint on your house. It's ridiculous. And then Monsanto is one of the companies that's trying to get our bought and paid for Congress to fast track the TPP so that they can take this kind of overarching power to do whatever they want, this lawlessness, into countries all over the world. And then they don't even have to go through the courts, the local courts. They will go to international tribunals and obviously decide in favor of these huge corporations, because it's becoming clear every day who really runs this country and who really pulls Obama's puppet strings. And in other rulings that are running counter to the Constitution, a court has dealt a blow to anonymity and the First Amendment. The Virginia Court of Appeals ruled that Yelp users have no right to be anonymous when they post negative comments about a business online. Now, even though the Supreme Court has recognized on numerous occasions the right to speak anonymously and has associated this right to the First Amendment. Now, one case said, protections for anonymous speech are vital to democratic discourse. Anonymity is a shield from the tyranny of the majority. It thus exemplifies the purpose behind the Bill of Rights and of the First Amendment in particular, to protect unpopular individuals from retaliation at the hand of an intolerant society. And our online anonymity, it continues to be jeopardized. And with that, private web browsers are seeing a really huge increase in web traffic. You know, just because you Google something doesn't mean you have to actually go to google.com and backdoor all of your information to the NSA. Now, StartPage spokesperson and privacy expert Dr. Catherine Albrecht says that every time Edward Snowden shares a new revelation about government spying, they get an influx of new users. Their privacy policy is very simple. Albrecht says, we don't collect any information. Nada, zilch, zero. No IP addresses are recorded and no tracking cookies are used. If any government comes knocking, there's nothing for them to get, period. Now, the same, of course, cannot be said for Google, which has a very detailed relationship with U.S. intelligence. And while you may be browsing privately, just know that businesses are starting to build shopper profiles on you using new sensors that track your phones. Turnstile Solutions has provided businesses with sensors that follow signal emitted from Wi-Fi enabled smartphones. This allows these businesses to track habits like traveling from a yoga studio to a restaurant, to a coffee shop, sports stadiums, hotels, and what nightclubs you might want to go to. A business owner said that instead of offering a general promotion that may or may not hit a nerve, we can promote specifically to the customer's taste. Now, these location trackers are bound to ignite privacy concerns because, of course, they can track whether you're going to see a specialist or a hospital and then sell that data to marketers. And just as a heads up, the U.S. doesn't need to get your consent in order to track you. Isn't that wonderful? Welcome back. Well, we've been covering the stories of thousands of American families who have lost their health insurance coverage once Obamacare forced their insurance companies to cancel their plan. Well, one of those families was the Daverts. But the Daverts aren't like any other American family. Their twin children have brittle bone disease, as well as the mother, and the father has cerebral palsy. This is a family who needs frequent medical care. Now, the parents had been covered under Medicare, but that didn't cover their children. And their children were both previously insured with a plan that wouldn't exceed $2,500 annually. Well, now, thanks to the new Unaffordable Care Act, the family who needs frequent medical care are looking at a plan where they'll pay $10,000 annually for their children. And Mrs. Daverts says, we go to the doctor quite frequently. We're definitely going to meet that $10,000 every single year. But what's even worse is that when Mrs. Daverts checked to make sure that her family was signed up for this more expensive coverage, because they had to sign up for it, she needed to cover her kids, she learned that her application had been lost. And then she made several other attempts to sign up again. But she learned then, once she was able to finally sign up, that her children had been denied coverage. I'm sorry, what? Denied coverage? I thought this was the exact reason why we have government-mandated insurance. This was the big lie that the American people were told, which made people vote for Obamacare, so that families, and especially families who really needed insurance, would be covered, and insurers wouldn't be allowed to deny them coverage or to charge them exorbitant rates for actually needing to go to the doctor. And here is a perfect example of why this is going to fail, why this doesn't work. Here we have a family who is living proof that once again, the American people were lied to. We have a family who liked their plan and wanted to keep their plan and can't, and now they've been denied coverage. So we'll have to keep you updated on just exactly what this family is going to do. But this is further proof that the government does not care about getting health care coverage for everyone. What they care about is those 2 pennies you have to rub together, and they want to figure out a way to take half. Youth enrollment is vital to the success of Obamacare. But the young and healthy just aren't lining up to pay exorbitant premiums on plans they probably won't use just to offset the cost for sicker consumers. In fact, only 24% of the 2.2 million people who've signed up for Obamacare were between 18 and 35, far below the 38% needed to make healthcare reform a success. If the young and healthy fail to sign up before the March deadline, insurers will have to raise prices next year. But what if people still fail to sign up for Obamacare next year, especially at a higher rate? Will the Affordable Care Act implode? Will insurers throw their hands in the air in defeat? Not likely, considering that over the next decade, more than $1 trillion is expected to funnel from American taxpayers through Washington to health insurance companies. We will see a massive transfer of wealth occur in this classically fascist arrangement. Fascism, where a few elites and the biggest corporations collaborate with the government to bring everybody else down. But insurers also aren't concerned with low enrollment numbers because of the Risk Corridor program. It's built into Obamacare, and it limits the overall losses for insurers. In fact, American taxpayers are on the hook for 78% of any losses accrued by managed healthcare. So just like the bankster bailout, where we gave trillions of dollars to the criminals who tanked our economy, taxpayers may now have to bail out the health insurance agency if and when the law fails. We told you, the Affordable Care Act was written by the insurance companies for the insurance companies. Conservatives and Tea Party Republicans agree that Obamacare will fail, and some insist Obamacare has a built-in failure mechanism that will give rise to a coordinated lefty push for single payer, a system in which the government, instead of private insurers, pays for all health care costs. Considering that about 80% of all Obamacare enrollees have already received federal assistance to defray the cost of coverage, those subsidies which are paid for by the taxpayer, and now taxpayers are also on the hook to cover any losses for insurers, well, it seems we've already morphed into a single-payer system, and that single payer is you.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.